In this episode, we're talking about what your luteal phase says about your fertility and chances of getting pregnant. Welcome to the Finally Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, the podcast helping women identify the real reasons you haven't conceived or stayed pregnant so you and your partner can finally grow the family of your dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Wood. Let's dive in, shall we? 3 things you'll learn in today's episode. What the luteal phase reveals about your progesterone, implantation, and your body's ability to sustain a pregnancy. The most common reasons the luteal phase is too short or why you have low progesterone. What you can do to naturally strengthen your luteal phase so your body is ready for conception and early pregnancy support. Now, today we're talking about a phase of your cycle that is really underestimated. It can sometimes be confusing and often misunderstood, and that is your luteal phase. And this isn't just chalked up to being the 2-week wait. This is actually the phase that is telling us whether your body is capable of implantation and to sustain and support a healthy pregnancy. And here is the truth. Many women are able to actually get pregnant, right? We're seeing the positive pregnancy test, but your luteal phase is actually giving you signs that are really making it harder to stay pregnant. Okay, so let's break down what your luteal phase reveals about your fertility and what to do if yours needs a little extra support in TLC. So let's just break down what is the luteal phase, anyways. The luteal phase is the time from after you ovulate and ends when your period starts. Okay, this is when the follicle that released the egg during ovulation forms into the corpus luteum, which produces progesterone, which is the hormone responsible for the thickening and stabilizing of your uterine lining. It supports implantation. It calms your immune system. It calms your mood. That's sometimes why it's called the calm and carry on hormone. And it helps you maintain early pregnancy. A healthy luteal phase lasts about 12 to 14 days. Anything shorter than 10 to 11 days is a red flag. And it's not because your body is broken, but it's because something upstream before the luteal phase actually happens needs your attention. So let's talk a little bit more about why the luteal phase matters so much for fertility. So progesterone is often called the pregnancy hormone, progesterone, progestation, but it's also a safety hormone as well. Our body is only going to produce adequate amounts of progesterone when it feels nourished, regulated, supported, and safe. And oftentimes, low or insufficient progesterone levels can lead to difficulty with implantation, chemical pregnancies, spotting before your period, short luteal phases, recurrent early loss, PMS symptoms. And here's really something to note here is low progesterone isn't actually the root problem. It is a sign and symptom of deeper issues. A lot of women struggle with low progesterone and they think that, oh, I have low progesterone and that is really like the main root cause or reason why they're not able to get or stay pregnant. But really, it's just a symptom of things that are happening before ovulation and we even have our luteal phase. So let's talk a little bit about some signs that your luteal phase might need a little extra support. And these are some of the most common signs I see with women that I'm talking to every day in my DMs and also in my clients. So luteal phases shorter than 10 days, also known as luteal phase defect. If you're experiencing any spotting before your period, if you have PMS, anxiety, or insomnia after ovulation, if you're experiencing any breast tenderness, if your periods are arriving earlier than expected, and if you're noticing your BBT or body basal temperature dropping too soon or having a low overall body temperature shift. And these signs are really telling us that the body is struggling to hold the right hormonal environment required for pregnancy. Now, let's talk about some root causes that can be behind luteal phase issues. So, number one is poor ovulation quality. So, this is a huge misconception. Like I was saying earlier, a lot of times we just think I have low progesterone and that is what I need to fix. But really, that is coming from poor ovulation quality. Because, like I had mentioned earlier, the follicle that released the egg is what turns into the corpus luteum, which is what releases progesterone. So if you have a poor quality egg and a poor or suboptimal ovulation, that is going to lead to a poor or suboptimal luteal phase and progesterone. So you cannot have a strong luteal phase without a strong ovulation. Things like low estrogen, disrupted hormone signaling, nutrient depletion, inflammation, definitely stress can lead to a weak corpus luteum and therefore low progesterone. Number two, chronic stress and nervous system dysregulation. Progesterone production requires us to be activating our parasympathetic nervous system. This is the rest and digest, safety, and recovery system that we want to be in. However, many of us are constantly activated in our sympathetic nervous system or our fight or flight. And this leads to chronic stress, which can steal progesterone precursors to basically prioritize making cortisol instead of progesterone. And this is why telling people just to relax isn't helpful, but why having actual stress support tools, nervous system tools, is essential to a healthy fertility. And that is something that I love supporting my clients with and is really such a big needle mover. Number three is metabolic and nutrient deficiencies. So, a lot of these deficiencies can include magnesium, B vitamins, zinc, cholesterol. Cholesterol is the backbone of our hormones. We need to be getting proper and sufficient levels of cholesterol in our diet and having adequate calories in our diet as well and carbohydrates. Because if your body doesn't trust the incoming raw resources that are coming in, it's not going to prioritize progesterone. It's going to prioritize surviving over reproduction. And ironically, a lot of the nutrient deficiencies can be impacted by birth control. So if you were on birth control before you started trying to conceive, you could be low in these vitamins. Number four, having any thyroid or blood sugar imbalances. So even having subclinical thyroid issues can shorten and impact your luteal phase and progesterone. And then, of course, if you're experiencing blood sugar crashes after ovulation, this can directly suppress progesterone output as well. So that's why it's so important to be regulating our blood sugar. And number five, last but not least, and my personal favorite, is the gut progesterone connection that nobody is talking about. And this is another critical root cause and something really impacting the last four that we just talked about, really behind luteal phase issues and low progesterone. And that is gut dysfunction, gut imbalances, because our gut is not just responsible for digesting our food, eliminating what our body doesn't need. It is playing a direct role in our hormone metabolism, inflammation control, nutrient absorption, immune balance. And all of these things are interconnected, interwoven into our fertility. If your gut is inflamed or imbalanced, progesterone will always struggle. It's going to take the back seat. And here's why. Progesterone is made from cholesterol, and requires key nutrients like magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, and vitamin C. And if your gut isn't absorbing nutrients properly due to dysbiosis, infections, low stomach acid, then your progesterone production will suffer. Even if your diet looks perfect, even if you are paying for the best prenatal supplements on the market. Secondly, gut inflammation directly raises cortisol. It is a stressor on your body. When cortisol demand is high, progesterone production gets shunted away to support your stress hormones instead. And this is one of the most common reasons I'm seeing women struggling with low progesterone after ovulation. And third, an unhealthy gut is going to disrupt your estrogen clearance. I know that we've talked about this on past episodes. If estrogen isn't properly metabolized and having that final elimination piece through the gut, it can create a relative estrogen dominance, which functionally suppresses progesterone, even if your levels look normal on paper. So what I mean by that is in your luteal phase, progesterone should be the dominant hormone, but if estrogen is being recirculated into the body and your estrogen is higher than progesterone in the luteal phase, then that essentially looks like estrogen dominance. So some common gut-related contributors can include H. pylori, parasites or yeast overgrowth like Candida, poor bile flow, constipation, food sensitivities, chronic bloating or reflux or other gut-related symptoms. And this is why women who are struggling with luteal phase spotting, PMS, often also have digestive symptoms, even mild ones that maybe you've learned to ignore or accept as normal. Because you simply cannot build a strong luteal phase on an inflamed gut. When your gut health is supported, progesterone doesn't need to be forced. It often rises naturally on its own because the body finally has the resources and safety signals that it needs. And this leads us into something very important to discuss, and that is why progesterone supplementation by itself isn't always going to be the fix, especially depending on your scenario. Progesterone supplementation, yes, can be supportive, but it is not a solution if the root cause isn't addressed. If you don't have those fertility foundations that I talk about all the time. So, if ovulation quality, metabolism, inflammation, or nervous system health isn't being supported, then progesterone supplementation is becoming a band aid short term solution, and it is not a really a long term solution for your fertility because the goal isn't to force a pregnancy that your body isn't ready for. We want to make your body feel safe enough and nourished enough to sustain one. So if you're experiencing any of those luteal phase or progesterone symptoms, let's talk about how you can support a healthy luteal phase naturally. So some fertility foundations include eating enough. We want to be getting enough high quality whole food calories, especially after ovulation. You might notice that your appetite increases a little bit post ovulation, and it's all for a reason. We want to be prioritizing sleep and supporting your circadian rhythm. Reducing high intensity exercise in the luteal phase, because believe it or not, even though exercising, yes, can be healthy, depending on the type of exercise, that can still be an added stressor to your body. And if your body's already depleted, then you're really just adding to that stress bucket. We want to be supporting your blood sugar regulation with quality protein and healthy fats, and having some nervous system regulation practices that you can go to regularly on a day-to-day basis. And then, of course, addressing your gut health and any inflammation in the body, because your luteal phase thrives on rest, routine, and nourishment. So I just want to shift your mindset here. Your luteal phase isn't failing you. It's trying to communicate with you. It's telling you whether your body feels supported enough to carry life. And when you listen to it, instead of trying to push and force it, your fertility can shift in pretty powerful ways. And this just leads me to wanting to share a really quick story about a client I had who came to me with a 7 to 8 day luteal phase. Number one, her doctor told her that that was fine and that it wasn't an issue for fertility. That's a huge red flag. They clearly do not understand how fertility works and what you need to be able to get pregnant and sustain a healthy pregnancy. So we started working together. Honestly, two big things that we worked on was her properly nourishing her body, especially starting with breakfast, and working on nervous system and stress support. And she got pregnant 2 months later. And that was after having a 7 to 8 day luteal phase. So it is absolutely possible. And the steps for you to get there, honestly, can be so simple and manageable. That's what I try to do for my clients is make these action steps so manageable and easy for you. And oftentimes they're getting pregnant within 2, 3 to 4 months after. Okay. So if you're struggling with progesterone and your luteal phase, and your doctor hasn't really given you any answers as to why, and their only solution is to supplement with progesterone or doing some sort of fertility treatment, whether it includes letrozole, Clomid, IUI, IVF. I just want you to know that those aren't the only answers. Those are really just band-aids. So if you are tired of guessing and you want to know exactly how to improve your ovulation to subsequently improve your luteal phase and your progesterone and how to increase your fertility now, grab your free fertility strategy call. The link is in the show notes, and we will build out your personalized step-by-step plan. And I just want to thank you so much for listening. I would definitely tune into this Thursday's episode. We're going to be diving in a little bit deeper into a very common fertility saboteur that your doctor is not testing for. And it has a lot to do with things that we talked about today. So I'll see you on our next episode, released every Tuesday and Thursday. Are you ready to finally discover why you haven't been able to get or stay pregnant? The Ultimate Fertility Blueprint is a quick, insightful quiz designed to reveal your overall capacity to conceive and help you discover potential root causes and areas to address to improve your fertility so you can finally get and stay pregnant. You'll find the link in the show notes. As a quick reminder and disclaimer, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult your doctor or healthcare provider before starting any new supplement or protocol, especially if you're actively trying to conceive or undergoing treatment.